My fright-loving friends, tonight we delve into a tale where the only thing more chilling than the Maine winter is the secret that rocks the cradle. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and ring that bell, or you might miss out on your next reason to check under the bed. Prepare yourselves for no returns. In the heart of Derry, Maine, a town whispered to be cradled by the unseen and the unheard, Nathan and Mia's story began with a flicker of hope. They were the embodiment of youthful optimism, a young couple on the cusp of parenthood, their lives about to unfurl in a tapestry of sleepless nights and unconditional love. Their home, a charming Victorian relic they had painstakingly restored, awaited the arrival of its newest occupant. All that remained was to find the perfect crib for their baby, a task that led them to the dimly lit, cobwebbed corners of Craigslist. It was there, amidst a sea of forgettable listings, that they stumbled upon the ad for an antique crib. The seller's photos did little justice to the item, yet there was something about the crib's hand-carved spindles and the warm patina of its wood that whispered to Mia's heart. "Nathan, look at this," she murmured, her finger tracing the screen of their laptop, her eyes alight with a mixture of excitement and an inexplicable draw she couldn't quite place. The couple drove to the outskirts of Derry, where the seller, an elderly man with a stoop in his back and a lifetime's worth of stories etched into his face, greeted them. His house, much like their own, was a relic of the past, each creak of the floorboards a whisper from history. The garage, cluttered with the detritus of decades, held the crib in a corner as if it were both hidden and showcased. Nathan and Mia approached the crib with a reverence usually reserved for sacred artifacts. As Nathan ran his hand over the wood, he felt a chill, an electric charge that seemed to pulse through the grain. "It's perfect," he declared, trying to mask the tremble in his voice with a smile. The old man watched them, his eyes clouded with an emotion they couldn't read. "It's been in my family for generations," he said, his voice a raspy whisper. "Treat it well." The weight of his words hung in the air, a silent warning or perhaps a blessing. Back at their home, the crib stood in the nursery, a testament to their love and anticipation. Mia decorated the room with soft hues and fabrics, each addition a stroke of her love. Yet as the days passed, a sense of unease began to permeate their excitement. The nursery, with its lavender walls and plush toys, felt colder somehow, as if the crib brought with it an unseen presence. They brushed aside the feeling, attributing it to pre-parental nerves. Yet, the night they heard the first inexplicable sound, a soft cooing, not from any electronic device but seemingly from the crib itself, they could no longer deny that something was amiss. As they lay in bed staring at the ceiling, the silence between them was a tangible thing. "Do you think we made a mistake?" Mia finally whispered, her voice barely audible. Nathan reached for her hand, squeezing it tightly. "No," he said, with more conviction than he felt. "We'll make it right, whatever it takes." Their journey had begun not just to parenthood, but into the depths of the unknown, guided by the light of their love and the shadows of the past that clung to the antique crib. The story of Nathan and Mia was no longer just theirs, but intertwined with the silent whispers of history, waiting to be heard. As the seasons turned in Derry, Maine, the warmth of summer gave way to the crisp chill of fall, mirroring the shift in Nathan and Mia's once tranquil life. The nursery, prepared with such love and care, became the epicenter of inexplicable occurrences that frayed the edges of their reality. It began with whispers of cold drafts that meandered like unseen rivers through the nursery, chilling not just the air but the very warmth of their hearts. Then came the soft, almost tender sounds of a child's cooing at night, a sound both heartbreakingly beautiful and deeply unsettling, for their baby had not yet arrived. One evening, as they sat down to a quiet dinner, the silence was broken by the distant sound of a lullaby, its melody hauntingly familiar yet impossible to place. The music box they had placed in the nursery for decoration was closed, yet the tune floated to them, weaving a thread of unease between the couple. "Nathan, did you wind the music box today?" Mia's voice trembled, not just from the cold that seemed to seep into the dining room. Nathan shook his head, his fork paused mid-air. "No, I haven't touched it since we set up the room. Mia, what's happening?" They rose from their meal, unfinished and forgotten, to stand at the threshold of the nursery. The music ceased as they entered, the silence oppressive, the air thick with anticipation. As the days grew shorter and the night longer, their anticipation for their baby's arrival was overshadowed by the growing fear of the unknown. The once joyful preparations turned into whispered conversations about the unexplainable, about the possibility that the beautiful antique crib they had brought into their home was more than just a piece of furniture. The true test came with the birth of their daughter, Lily. She was a beacon of light in the growing darkness that had begun to envelop their lives. Yet even her presence could not dispel the shadows that seemed to lurk in the corners of the nursery. Lily, with her innocent eyes and easy smile, became a silent observer to the unseen. She would often stare into the empty space above the crib, cooing and laughing at something or someone invisible to her parents' eyes. But at night, her laughter would turn to cries of fear, piercing the stillness and leaving Nathan and Mia helpless and terrified. One night, as Mia comforted a distraught Lily, Nathan ventured into the nursery alone. The temperature dropped as he approached the crib, his breath visible in the air. He reached out, his hand hovering over the crib, feeling the cold emanate from the wood itself. "Mia!" he called out, his voice laced with a panic he couldn't contain. "Come here, please!" Mia entered, Lily in her arms, and watched as Nathan's fingers traced the carvings on the crib. His face, a mask of fear and determination. "We need to find out where this came from," he said, meeting Mia's eyes. "There's something wrong, something connected to this crib. We can't ignore it any longer." Mia nodded, her resolve hardening. "Let's do it. For Lily," she whispered, holding their daughter close. "We'll find out the truth. We have to." Their decision marked the beginning of a journey that would take them deeper into the heart of their fear. They sought answers in the light of day, hoping to banish the shadows that had taken residence in their home. With each step, they unraveled a thread of history, of sorrow, and of a haunting that clung to the antique crib, a haunting that had now become their own. Nathan and Mia's search for answers led them down the cobwebbed corridors of Derry's history, each step unveiling layers of stories buried beneath layers of time. Their journey was marked by visits to the local library's dusty archives, where ancient newspapers whispered secrets, and interviews with the few living souls who remembered the crib's original owners, the Reeds. The Reeds had been a family much like theirs, full of hope and dreams for the future, dreams that were shattered one cold December night when tragedy struck, leaving behind a grief that refused to be silenced. The story of the crib, it seemed, was intertwined with the story of a loss so profound it echoed through the years, reaching out to Nathan and Mia. Armed with this knowledge, they sought the expertise of Mrs. Albright, a spiritual healer known for her ability to communicate with the unseen. She agreed to help, her face etched with the seriousness of their plight as she stepped into their home. "The energy here is troubled," Mrs. Albright murmured, her eyes scanning the nursery. "The spirit attached to this crib is bound by unresolved grief. It seeks acknowledgement, a voice. How do we give it that? How do we make this right?" Mia's voice was a blend of fear and determination, her maternal instincts fiercely protective of Lily. "We must confront the spirit, offer it peace and release," Mrs. Albright explained, setting up candles and symbols of protection around the room. But be warned, the process may stir the spirit to resistance. You must remain strong. The night of the ceremony, the air in the nursery thickened, as if anticipating the confrontation. Mrs. Albright began chanting, her voice rising and falling in a rhythm that seemed as old as time itself. Nathan and Mia stood by, holding hands, a united front against the unknown. As Mrs. Albright's chants grew louder, the temperature dropped precipitously, their breaths visible in the icy air. The crib began to shake, a low moan filling the room, growing in intensity until it was a wail of despair and anger. "Nathan, I'm scared," Mia whispered, her eyes wide as she clutched Lily closer. "We're here to help you," Nathan called out into the room, his voice steady despite the fear coursing through his veins. "We acknowledge your pain, your loss. Please, tell us what you need to find peace." The room fell silent, the tension palpable, as if the world itself held its breath. Then, in a voice that was both a sigh and a whisper, they heard it, the sound of a woman crying. "It's my fault," the voice sobbed, the sorrow in it cutting through them. "My baby. I couldn't save him." Mia stepped forward, tears streaming down her face. "It wasn't your fault. Sometimes terrible things happen that we can't control, but your baby is at peace, and he wants you to be too." The air in the room shifted, the oppressive atmosphere beginning to dissipate as the spirit's sobs grew softer, turning into a sigh of release. The candles flickered once, brightly, before settling into a steady glow. Mrs. Albright ceased her chanting, her face serene. "It's done. The spirit has found its peace. It's free to move on, and so are you." In the days that followed, the nursery was transformed. No longer a place of fear and cold, it was filled with light and warmth, as if blessed by the spirit's gratitude. Nathan and Mia watched over Lily, their love a shield against the darkness they had faced. Their ordeal had taught them the power of acknowledgement, of facing the past with courage and compassion. They had confronted a haunting not with fear, but with understanding, offering peace to a soul long tormented by grief. As they stood together, their families stronger for the trials they had endured, they knew they had not only freed a spirit, but had also liberated themselves from the chains of fear. They had faced the unknown and had emerged victorious, their love, the beacon that guided them through the darkness. In the serene aftermath of their confrontation, Nathan and Mia's home felt transformed. The nursery, once a nexus of unseen turmoil, now bathed in the gentle light of dawn, its air filled with the soft gurgles and coos of baby Lily, content in her crib. Nathan wrapped his arms around Mia as they stood in the doorway, watching their daughter with a mix of awe and relief. "We did it," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. Mia leaned back into his embrace, her eyes misty with tears of gratitude. "Yes, we did. We brought peace to our home, for Lily." Their journey through fear and uncertainty had brought them to a newfound strength, a bond unbreakable, forged in the fires of shared trials. They had learned the power of facing the past, of speaking truths to silence. Together, they had turned a haunting into a lesson of love, understanding, and the eternal hope that even the deepest wounds can find healing. Not all that is inherited is wealth. Sometimes it's a whisper from the past, longing for peace. What would you do if an antique's history became your present? Leave a comment below, and may your nightmares be just enough to keep you coming back for more. Fright fans, click next for more chills and hit subscribe to join our ghastly gang. You see, who dares to miss out, so watch our next video.